Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and welcome to another live news show here at World Alternative Media. We've been doing this a lot lately, and that's because we get to reach our audience and get a lot done in the meantime. We can go over a lot of breaking news stories that otherwise it would take me a whole lot of time to edit and get done and all that kind of stuff. So for those of you that already know the drill, basically what I do is I'm going to go through different reports, record them live. Hopefully all goes well. It might not. You never know. You get to catch it live anyway. And then I'm going to be signing out of those reports. But stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. I'll take your questions and all that. I'm just signing out of the report itself, and then I'm getting back to all of you that are watching. I figure it's the best way to do it. I've gone over a few ideas, and I think it's legitimately the best way to go about it. We are doing a lot more high quality reports coming up right away, interviews as well, and I'm heading to Canada from Las Vegas right away, so there's that. And we'll do the best we can to keep you updated with as many videos a day as we possibly can as we fight back against the crazy, not just demonetization, but shadow banning at YouTube. Which reminds me, before I get to all the reports, here is our Bitcoin address. We just had our 6th birthday here at WAM on March 1st, and if anyone wants to tip or donate and help keep us alive, you can check out that Bitcoin address right there. We have 5 people of 114,000 people watching according to YouTube. All right, that seems legit. We're getting pretty used to this kind of stuff. There's some funny business going on when we can't seem to reach anybody when we are live. I mean, out of 114,000 people that are subscribed to WAM, to see, we're up to 10 people now. We got a few people saying hello. Steve Clark says hello from England/UK. Hello. Good to see you. I'm glad some people are getting the memo that we are online and we are live. But, you know, that's the fun of YouTube shadow banning. And there's a lot of interesting stuff going on today, including my inability to post comments on many of my videos on YouTube at the same time as what's happening on Facebook and Instagram, which we'll be going into shortly. So as I said, I'm going to get into these reports. I'm going to sign out. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to continue talking with you guys. We're doing several reports live. You get to watch me record it and possibly screw up. And anyway, enjoy. I'm going to get to the first report here. So now to sign in and be really awkward. I still have to find a good way around this. It's kind of weird. But anyway, here we go. As we know, there has been a change of the guard since the days of, well, you know, Johnny Carson, Donahue, people like that, Dick Cavett. We have these talk show hosts that are essentially becoming propagandist arms for, not just the media, but the government and the complex that is involved with the government. I want to go into this a little bit with you all today, folks, because there's some news. Jay Leno is kind of coming out against a lot of these talk show hosts. Of course, Jay Leno at the top or the peak of his viewership was telling jokes about, Obama and stuff like that, and really calling out Obama in a lot of ways. And he was kind of probably the last person that went there, because nowadays everyone's so easily offended, and nowadays everyone's expecting just constant anti-Trump stuff. And we're not like pro-Trump here, but like, look, there's some real clear weird bias coming from the media, and we'll go into all that in a moment. But first I want to get into this story a bit, because as this article Out of the Hill says, Leno laments today's late night shows. Everyone has to know your politics. And as the article goes into, former NBC Tonight Show host Jay Leno said Tuesday that he doesn't miss hosting a late night show and lamented that everyone has to know your politics. Now during an interview with NBC's Al Roker on the 3rd hour of the Today Show. Do you miss being on the show, or is it such a different time that it would be hard to do? Today host Roker asked Leno. As Leno said, no, it's different. I don't miss it. Everything now is, if people don't like your politics, everyone has to know your politics, Leno replied. And he continued, I kind of used Johnny's model. People couldn't figure it out. Well, you and your Republican friends, or well, Mr. Leno, you and your Democratic buddies, and I would get hate mail from both sides equally, Leno said, referring to his predecessor at the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson. But when people see you as one-sided, it just makes it tough, Leno 68 continued. And plus, I did it when, Clinton was horny and George W. Bush was dumb, and it was just a little easier. Now it's all very serious, he said. I'd just like to see a bit of civility come back to it. People say, oh, it must be easy to do jokes with Trump. No, it's actually harder because the punchline of the joke used to be, that's like the president with a porn star. Well, now the president is with a porn star. Where do you go with that? How do you get more outrageous than that? Leno initially left The Tonight Show in 2009, but returned in 2010 after the show experienced a tumultuous run with host Conan O'Brien. Leno left again in February 2014 while still leading his competition on CBS and ABC in the late night ratings race, and was replaced by Jimmy Fallon, a former Saturday Night Live cast member. And let me just highlight this. Fallon dominated in his first few years against CBS's Stephen Colbert and ABC's Jimmy Kimmel, but once Donald Trump entered the presidential race, late-night shows became more focused on political news, and Colbert, a frequent critic of Trump who formerly hosted the political satire show The Colbert Report on Comedy Central, eventually jumped ahead of Fallon. Now, Donald Trump has actually replied to these what Leno said, saying on Twitter, Jay Leno points out that comedy on the very boring late night shows is totally one-sided. It's tough when there's only one topic. Fox and Friends. Actually, the one-sided hatred on these shows is incredible, and for me, unwatchable. But remember, we are number one. All right. So let's get to this a bit. I find this to be an interesting story, mostly because, well, we could go back to Operation Mockingbird. There's a lot of documentation going way back regarding how the government basically controlled the media and created propaganda, and now they drive people against each other. If everyone is divided and attacking each other, they're distracted. They're not looking at who the real enemy is. They are just busy fighting themselves and infighting, and we see that in every community as well. And it's really, really over the top brutal, folks. It's getting to the point where, like, I turn on all these talk shows. I used to enjoy a lot of them, including SNL as well. And it's just not funny. And okay, yeah, they might have the occasional actually funny jab at Trump, whatever, but it's all just Trump, Trump, Trump. South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone ended up saying, I think it was a year and a half ago, we're not CNN, so we're going to refrain from like going after Trump all the time because like it's not really funny. Just watching him himself is far funnier than any joke you can make of him. He is a walking cartoon character, basically. And yeah, I mean, I call out Donald Trump on real things that the media isn't talking about. The media is not talking about the real issues. Like Trump saying he's pulling out of Syria, but then the news attacks him for that, but then doesn't say anything when he says that he's actually going to stay in Syria in order to, quote unquote, protect the world and protect Israel. Those are his words. And the media doesn't cover it. They don't cover the real negative things regarding Trump. They make things up because it allows for a kind of like this divide and conquer agenda to play out where people just drive each other against each other. And people on the right will rightly say that's fake news and it's made up about Trump. And then people on the left will believe whatever they say but not actually look at the real problems. And it just perpetuates a divide and perpetuates a collectivist paradigm that we see today in all walks of life, right, left, Pepsi, Coke, you know what I'm talking about. It's just, it perpetuates forever. So when we look at these talk shows, it is a serious issue right now that we turn to every channel and it's just more garbage. It's all the same recycled jokes over and over again. Melania doesn't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a big, mean, racist bigot, whatever. And none of it actually focuses on real problems, not just, made up divide, agendas that are playing out in all these medias. It's like CNN, and then Fox News doesn't report on the real issues either, and CNN doesn't report on the real issues either. And this is why we need independent media, and this is why there's so many viewers on things like Joe Rogan's podcast. I mean, look at Joe Rogan. You don't have to agree with him on everything. You don't have to even like him. But look at the fact that it's growing at such an incredible scope and size all the time because people are sick of what's on television. Look, they over time, naturally decentralized, whether they like it or they're looking at it that way or not. It doesn't matter. You go from William Randolph Hearst newspapers to the radio, more decentralized. Radio to television, more decentralized because all these companies kept taking over all these entities over and over again and monopolizing them. And then you go from television to Facebook and YouTube. And let's face it, that's getting over the top centralized, getting really bad and censored. So people are moving from YouTube and Facebook to decentralized alternatives that aren't there yet. We can only hope for the best, but the fact is it's happening. There's u.community. Look that one up. That's an interesting new social media platform that's about proof of importance, which is an interesting concept. There's also STEEMIT, BitTube, BitChute, all that kind of stuff. But you get the picture. It's just, and DTube, of course. It's just that there's so many options coming up because people are sick of this and they're naturally going to move away from it. And when you're watching Stephen Colbert make like snide, arrogant comments all the time, lecturing the rest of his country from his high horse, and you see them all delivering the exact same narrative as if there's some kind of resistance, it's kind of gross. It's gross to watch. It's like it's something. It makes you feel kind of sick because it's just so bad. The quality is so low, and people obviously want to get away from that and dodge it as much as they can. And we are seeing that today, folks. We are seeing people move away. So I guess that's an example of the popularity on our side of things that we are starting to make some ground. Because I mean, in the end, Leno was still like one of the more popular guys. Was the most popular talk show host actually when he left the Tonight Show. And look, I used to like even Conan O'Brien and stuff, and I actually liked Craig Ferguson a lot years ago. That's a pixelized picture. But I mean, it's changed. It's changed over the last few years. They're moving too fast in their attempt to completely control narratives. I mean, it's supposed to be an incremental frog boil, and it's not really a frog boil anymore. It's kind of like a quick switch over to this SJW culture and this emotional reactionary culture and this identity politics culture where no one actually has opinions. It's all just regurgitated ideas that they're repeating from late night television, which is where they're getting a lot of the news from, etc. It's a huge problem, and we will continue to cover it as it goes on. It's just it's propaganda, folks. It's complete propaganda, and you could see the Bernays in all of it. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to look at some of these comments here. 25 people watching out of 114,000 people. Thanks, YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. You do us such good. You're really allowing us to reach people, and I really appreciate that. Obviously, 25 is a lot to ask for out of 114,000 people. Shadow banning, folks. Shadow banning. Anyway, Kingsley Edwards says, joining from the shower. Thanks. The amount of people that watch WAM in the shower and on the toilet, I just don't even want to know. Let's see. People are saying, one person said, my screen's frozen. Your screen's frozen? Like, was that happening with a lot of people watching? Because I sure hope not, because that would suck. Let me know if you're having any issues with the video, with the audio, or anything like that, because I need to know so I can make the arrangements to make sure that doesn't continue. Anyway, I'm gonna go on to the next report right away here. I just can't believe 24 people watching out of 114,000 people. Like, you have to understand my frustration here because it's so ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, I'm not getting shadow banned at all. 24 people out of 114,000 people. Oh no, surely, there's no shadow banning. What on earth, guys? Like, I'm 15 minutes in. Anyway, let's get on to the next story. Share this video around, even though you can't on Facebook right now because it's down. And press like on the video. Make sure to press like on the video. That helps it get catch on with the algorithm and everything. It's so absurd that I'm dealing with this. Whatever. We'll move on to the next story here. I'm going to put down my other laptop and we'll get moving here. I just got to set up the next report to be ready to go. Okay. That should be an interesting story. All right. Again, for those watching, I'm going to introduce myself, kind of get into the report, do the report live, sign out, but don't go anywhere because I will be here for the live stream and answering questions and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I got to do this because I'm going to cut them out after. Anyway, let's get down to this. All right, look who's in the news again. Ocasio-Cortez. I don't know. People keep telling me it's important how I pronounce her name. I really don't care. But there's always new news coming out over something that she says. It's always interesting. You know, the world's going to end in the next, 12 years. I've seen so many examples of crazy statements out of Ocasio-Cortez. And that people should sit down and shut up while she rides her high horse because everyone else is speaking from the cheap seats. Like, the arrogance of this person is absurd and all her ideas are so wrong and so debunked over time. I don't even have time to go into all of them. We've done reports on it before. But anyway, I want to get into this article. And yes, I know from Fox News. Let me get into it after the fact. But I want to get into it first from this. As the article says, Ocasio-Cortez says she isn't worried about the rise of workplace robots. And as the article goes into, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat from New York, said workers should be excited by the prospect of job automation and blasted capitalism as irredeemable at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin this weekend. Man, I wish I got over to that. I always find out at the last second. Anyway, in response to a question from the audience about the threat of automated labor, the firebrand liberal said workers should be excited about having their jobs automated, but were not because of larger systemic issues in American society. And I quote, "We should be excited by that, but the reason we're not excited by it is because we're living in a society where if you don't have a job, you are left to die." And that is at its core our problem. Ocasio-Cortez, who has championed moonshot ideas like the Green New Deal and universal health care, said, yeah, stealing everyone's money totally has nothing to do with people being left to die. Anyway, as he goes on, according to The Verge, the freshman congresswoman also referenced a proposal from Bill Gates to potentially tax robots that replace human workers. Tax robots. They just, oh my God. Anyway, we should be excited about automation because what it could potentially mean is more time educating ourselves, more time creating art, more time investing in and investigating the sciences, more time focused on invention, more time going to space, more time enjoying the world that we live in, she said, according to The Verge, because not all creativity needs to be bonded by wage. People are expected to work for free because they're not supposed to charge for things that cost them money to produce and all that. And you think everyone's anyway, we know this argument. We've done it before. We've gone over it before. And this idea of going to space, maybe someone should send her to space voluntarily, of course. Tell her there's communism on Mars or something. Anyway, during her talk, which reportedly drew the largest crowds at the popular Austin Festival, Ocasio-Cortez slammed capitalism. And I quote, "Capitalism is an ideology of capital. The most important thing is the concentration of capital and to seek and maximize profit," Ocasio-Cortez said. And that comes at any cost to people and to the environment, she said, according to Bloomberg News. So to me, capitalism is irredeemable. Okay, going on, although the self-described democratic socialists stopped short of saying capitalism should be scrapped altogether, she explained that we're reckoning with the consequences of putting profit above everything else in society. And what that means is people can't afford to live. For me, it's a question of priorities. And right now, I don't think our model is sustainable. The congresswoman who unseated a 10-term Democratic incumbent in a district spanning parts of Queens and the Bronx and democratic socialism is more about, or said democratic socialism is more about the rights of workers than explicitly government-run industries. Yeah, by stealing all their money, that makes them very happy and sustainable. It's just as much a transformation about bringing democracy to the workplace so that we have a say and that we don't check all of our rights at the door every time we cross the threshold into our workplace, she reportedly said. Because at the end of the day, as workers and as people in society, we're the ones creating wealth. There's so much to go into it. It hurts my head. And this idea of like, we shouldn't, every time we cross the threshold into the workplace, we don't have to check all of our rights away. I mean, so stealing most of everyone's money and spending trillions of dollars on things they don't want to extort them further and force them into servitude and dependence and, force them to live the way you want, because of course that's fair and square. That's not greedy at all, that you have an idea and you want to force everyone at gunpoint to do it or else be kidnapped and thrown in a cage. Guys, anyway, we should be scared right now, as she said, because corporations have taken over our government, she said. Government has taken over the corporations, Alexandria. We'll go into that in a moment. The 29-year-old congresswoman did not offer any proposals at South by Southwest, but she did reference income inequality in the United States during her talk. We shouldn't be working the least amount we've ever worked if we were actually paid based on how much wealth we were producing, she said. But we're not. We're paid on how little we're desperate enough to accept. And then the rest is skimmed off and given to a billionaire. Like a billionaire. Okay, yeah, because all businesses are just run by billionaires. And who cares, folks? These billionaires are producing more into the economy than anyone by giving people countless jobs. The biggest problem that is hurting people's wealth today and pushing people into poverty and making their wages not work or do anything for them in the real world is inflation and taxes. This is a woman that wants to tax people a ridiculous amount, and her proposals would involve taxing people over 95% in a lot of cases regarding the Green New Deal, which still makes no financial sense whatsoever, and is based on the United Nations Agenda 2030 agenda anyway. But this idea that government should save us from government, but she blames capitalism, the exchange of goods and services, voluntarily, hand-to-hand, switching hands. Like, folks, this is the biggest problem we're dealing with right now, is the dependency of the populace and this idea that we must be dependent on this entity because problem, reaction, solution, repeat for eternity, Hegelian dialectic. Folks, the problems aren't coming from capitalism. Corporations are owned by the government because the government has complete control over them, which is fascism, by the way, which she is quick to call everybody else. And on top of that, it's kind of fascio-communism because communism comes into play there. The planks of communism, the central banking system, no property rights, as I've gone into recently, etc., etc., etc. Taxation is theft, and stealing most of people's money does not make them richer. It creates a domino effect of poverty that hits and strikes everyone, and everyone ends up paying for it, and you jack up that wage at the same time, and then people are able to buy about the same, if not less, with a different higher number, because this woman who apparently has some kind of degree in economics has never actually studied basic economics. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is probably one of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my life in politics, and that's saying a lot because politics is organized crime. It's people centrally planning your life, saying that they have a right over your life, saying that they are the masters and you're the slaves. They are the kings and the queen, and you are the pawns and must be sacrificed for them. It is such a disgusting joke that we keep having to deal with these same people over and over again, fooling people that are basing all their ideas on emotions. They don't have opinions. It's identity politics on both sides, on both freaking sides, thinking that collectivism is going to save them from the problems of collectivism. Cancer curing cancer. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has absolutely no idea what she's talking about, and most politicians don't, and it doesn't even matter because politicians are playing a game of organized crime where they're stealing people's money and utilizing it to force ideas on them that only a small amount of people voted for. Representative government, yeah, okay, Go to your representative and give them an idea. And even if they took your idea, they're still forcing that idea on everyone else, because good ideas do not require force, folks. It's immoral and it's illogical from an economic standpoint. People have more say in their life, more rights in a capitalist society that's truly free market, outside of the government coercive structure that completely destroys the markets, regulates and taxes, pushes small businesses out of the market while propping up major monopolies, which then people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez blames capitalism for. Not government, the government that's creating that problem in the first place. Then inflation, at the creation of fiat centrally planned legal tender law crap that's being shoved down our throats, and then we have to pay off the interest on the debt with the taxes, as well as go bomb places overseas with those taxes. I don't know, folks. Maybe I'm getting a bit overly angry. I do believe there's more solutions than problems, but it really frustrates me to see this perpetuate for so long, from Bernie Sanders, and all these politicians that over time slowly, incrementally got more and more socialistic and collectivist. And I'm not justifying conservatism either, because it's all forms of collectivism. It's just some are bigger, some are smaller. None of them are excused. None of them are justifiable. The free market allows for corporations, or companies, I should say, not corporations, companies, to compete on the market with the best price, lowest price for the best product that people will give their individual demand to with their currency, with their value, things they voluntarily do, while they do not voluntarily accept their money being stolen out of their pocket outside of the social contract, which apparently we all signed when we were born, straight out of the womb. We put on our little reading glasses and got a pencil and wrote out this social contract. It's so absurd. And our rights are only existent at our own personal protection of those rights, individual responsibility to protect those rights. If the government does this, I mean, look, imagine the Italian mob or something. Let's go into the movies. There's not a lot of Italian mob these days, but you get the picture. This organized crime racket comes and starts extorting us. What are we doing to protect ourselves? Why is it any different with the government? Because, they're bigger and scarier and they've killed hundreds of millions of people, MVP at murder, and we need to bow down to them and give them all of our money because they're also the MVP at theft. I mean, why do we accept this as an inevitability? If most people stopped obeying, the whole system would crumble. If a few people, a tiny percentage, stopped obeying, the whole system would collapse because it's inefficient and unsustainable. So why do we allow ourselves to continuously perpetuate this problem by thinking, well, maybe the lesser of evil will save us? And that's one of the things that the left ended up bringing in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and the right bring in a whole bunch of politicians for the same reason. And we always look to politics to save us from politics, and that is the cancer that will never end as long as we continue to do that. And just cutting government isn't going to change that either, because you can cut 95% of a tumor, but that tumor still exists in that 5 percentile region, and it'll still grow. What are we going to do about this, folks? Are we going to continuously lay apathetic, or are we going to stand up? Anyway, thanks for listening to me rant about all this insanity. I will continuously talk about Alexandria Ocasio or whatever her name is, because I think that it is incredibly counterproductive and also dangerous to perpetuate this idea of dependence on the state, and that the state has the answers to all of our problems, which they created in the first place. So anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right, guys, let's see. We got 51 out of 114,000 people watching. Okay, let's see. We got some comments here. I need to calm down. I keep getting a little bit too energized, and then it screws me up for later reports because I'm out of breath. Let's see. Sophia's Emporium says, "Hiya, Josh, WAM, and chat. Just finishing up. I see much appreciation for all you do." No, not finishing up yet. What we're doing for those that are just tuning in is that I'm recording reports live on the news show. I'm cutting them out later, so I have to sign out of those videos, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here to answer questions and all that kind of stuff. I just want to cut it right so we can cut out the clips later and repost them. Anyway, we're going to get into some more stories right away. John Stromietis, or if I get that wrong, I'm sure that's probably wrong. You're rocking, bro. Tell it. I appreciate it. I do what I can. But I do need to calm down a bit. Yeah, I get a little frustrated over this kind of stuff, and it shows. We're like 30 minutes in. I do have a meeting with G. Edward Griffin right after this, and I need to be somewhat with it when I do that, because we're working on the Red Pill Expo 2019, which I do believe I have a link for in the description for those that are interested. Again, here's our Bitcoin address. I gotta energize myself a little bit after that last video, because I get carried away sometimes. Let's see. I'm going to get going with the next report right away. I got people calling me at the same time. Too much going on. But anyway, let's get back to our reports here. I'm going to bring up the next story, which is on... let's go with Jerome Powell. That sounds interesting. Okay. My apologies ahead of time if Zero Hedge screws up. They have ads that come up way too frequently, and I don't have the ad blocker on for this right now. So anyway, let's get to this. Again, don't go away after I sign out of this, because I'll still be here to take questions. All right. So what do we have here in the news out of Zero Hedge, which was recently banned by Facebook, but it appears that they are back. We got another story regarding the Federal Reserve, as Jerome Powell was on 60 Minutes, and I do enjoy fact checks, especially of central bankers. So I'm going to go into the story originally authored by Michael Leibowitz at realinvestmentadvice.com. Here on Zero Hedge, as the article says, Jerome Powell on 60 Minutes. Fact check. And as the article says, on Sunday... Oh, here we go. It's glitching out. Oh, here we go. I told you this might happen. On Sunday, March 11th, 2019, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell was interviewed by Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes. We thought it would be helpful to cite a few sections of their conversation and provide you with prior articles in which we addressed the topics discussed. And as it continues, we have been outspoken about the role of the Fed, their mission, and policy actions over the last 10 years. We are quick to point out flaws in Fed policy for a couple of reasons. First, is simply due to the enormous effect that Fed policy actions and words have on the markets. Second, many in the media seem to regurgitate the Fed's actions and words without providing much context or critique of them. The combination of the Fed's power over the market coupled with poor media analysis of their words and actions might expose investors to improper conclusions and therefore suboptimal investment decision making. And as it continues here, with that, we review various parts of the 60 Minutes interview and offer links to prior articles to help provide alternative views and insight, as well as more thorough context of Chairman Powell's answers. I always love Chairman Powell. It always reminds me of like Mao or something, and that's kind of their job description. Anyway, as it says here, can the Fed chairman be fired? Pelley, do you listen to the president? Powell, I don't comment on the president or any elected official. Pelley, can the president fire you? Powell, well, the law is clear that I have a 4-year term and I fully intend to serve it. Pelley, so no in your view? Powell, no. And as it goes, and again, like the Fed is by government decree, legal tender laws. Let me just refresh this. You know, Zero Hedge does this all the time. There's some issues keeping it going, and there's probably going to be ads popping up. Anyway, this is another issue. I'm going to continue this in a moment, but this is another thing that people talk about a lot. Does the government have control over the Fed? The Fed's private, all that kind of stuff, but it's by legal tender laws. The Fed wouldn't matter at all, really, except for those who stupidly throw their money at fiat. Or not fiat, by the U.S. Not legal tender. Again, if there's no legal tender, that wouldn't even be an issue. Again, it wouldn't even be an issue if the government wasn't enforcing it, because then we wouldn't have to pay off the interest on the debt. We wouldn't have usury forced upon us by the government through the central banking system and the banks who do fractional reserve lending, etc. But anyway, getting back to the article, our take. Yes, the Federal Reserve Act, which governs the Fed, makes it clear that he can be fired for cause. Chairman Powell, you're fired. Okay. Does the Fed play a role in driving the growing income and wealth inequality gaps? Pelly, according to federal statistics, the upper half of the American people take home 90% of income, leaving about 10% for the lower half of Americans. Where are we headed in this country in terms of income disparity? Powell says, well, the Fed doesn't have a direct responsibility for these issues, but nonetheless, they're important. Our take, inflation hurts. That's what I've been saying. But inflation hurts the poor and benefits of the wealthy. The Fed has an inflation target and therefore takes direct policy action that fuels the wealth divide. 2% for the 1%. As it continues, will Chairman Powell know when a recession is upon us? Pelly, this is the longest expansion in American history. How long can it last? Powell, it will be the longest in a few months if it continues. I would just say there's no reason why it can't continue. For years, our take, in January of 2008, Chairman Bernanke said a recession was not in the cards. I remember this well. It turns out the official recession started a month earlier. Recession risks are likely higher than you think, as an article out of Zero Hedge previously noted. How healthy is the labor market, Powell? So the U.S. economy right now is in pretty good place. Unemployment is at a 50-year low. Our take, we continually hear about the strength of the labor market. While that may seem to be the case, wages are the labor participation rate paint a different picture. And then it says, do record high stock valuations represent healthy financial conditions? Pelly says, we have seen big swings in the stock market in the United States. And I wonder, do you think the markets today are overvalued? Powell, we don't comment. Yeah, they really don't want to. We don't comment on the valuation of the stock market particularly. And we do though, we monitor financial conditions carefully. That's an odd way of putting it. Strange quote. Our interest rate policy works through financial conditions. So we look at a very broad range of financial conditions. That includes interest rates, the level of the dollar, the availability of credit, and also the stock market. So we look at a range of things. And I think we feel that conditions are generally healthy today. Our take, we beg to differ with over 100 years of history on our side. Yeah, you think? Continuing on here, it says, is the Fed chairman aware of the burden of debt and its economic consequences? Pelly, but the overarching question is, are we headed to a recession? Powell, the outlook for our economy, in my view, is a favorable one. It's a positive one. I think growth this year will be slower than last year. Last year was the highest growth that we've experienced since the financial crisis, really in more than 10 years. This year, I expect that growth will continue to be positive and continue to be at a healthy rate. Apparently he's never studied the economy throughout all of history. Our take, the record amount of debt on an absolute basis and relative to economic activity is a burden on the economy. Expectations should be greatly tempered. The economic consequences of debt and economic theories, debt-driven realities. I think that was another article out of Zero Hedge before. Does Chairman Powell bow at the altar of the President and Congress? On December 17th and 18th of 2019, President Trump tweeted the following, and I quote, "It is incredible that with a very strong dollar and virtually no inflation, the outside world blowing up around us, Paris is burning and China weighed down. The Fed is even considering yet another interest rate hike. Take the victory." Whatever you say. Man. I hope the people over at the Fed will read today's Wall Street Journal editorial before they make yet another mistake. Also, don't let the market become any more illiquid than it already is. Stop with the 50 Bs. Feel the market. Don't just go by meaningless numbers. Good luck. Pelly, your Fed is apolitical. Powell, strictly non-political. Considering the Fed made an abrupt U-turn of policy following the tweets above, a sharp market decline, and very little change in the data to justify it, we think otherwise. The summary: the Fed has a long history of talking out of both sides of their mouths. They make a habit of avoiding candor about policy uncertainties in what appears to be an effort to retain credibility and give an appearance of confidence. The Fed's defense of their extraordinary actions over the past 10 years and reluctance to normalize policy is awkward, to say the least, and certainly not confidence-inspiring. As evidenced by his responses to Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes, Jerome Powell is picking up where Bernanke and Yellen left off. This article aims to contrast the inconsistencies of the most current words of the Fed chairman with truth and reality. Thinking for oneself and taking nothing for granted remains the most powerful way to protect and compound wealth and avoid large losses. All right, guys, so let's get into this a little bit. First of all, this talk about Trump potentially firing Powell and then replacing him with like someone like Herman Cain is absurd. It just shows that it'll perpetuate the problem forever. And then on top of that, we also have the issue of the Federal Reserve in general and central planning and printing money out of thin air. All fiat currencies eventually revert to their true value of zero. They always have, they always will, going back to 1024 AD in China. And it's always been the case, and it always will be the case. So when are we going to learn from that? We need to look at the subjectivity of value, the theory of subjectivity of value, which is based on scarcity, application, use, and demand. And when we have this currency printed out of thin air based on faith, while countries swap out of it, and it looks to be that China and India will replace the United States in the near future as a world superpower, and I don't support any empires, but again, this is a reality. It's quite clear to me that it's all, jumbled nonsense when we hear Trump complaining and we hear Powell complaining and we hear Powell saying everything's fine and then Trump saying everything's not fine, but it's all good in the stock market, which is a huge bubble. Everyone's wrong in this case. Presidents don't really have control over the economy. The government as a whole does dictate the economy to the Fed, but the Fed makes its own decisions. As Alan Greenspan said, we answer to nobody. And I think it's important to point out that as long as we centralize an economy, and this is something that happens in every country in the world, we will continue to create inflation, price of living will go up, and the government will always continuously try to aid it with more dependence by trying to tax people more, regulate more, and create more problems. It's cancer versus cancer versus cancer versus cancer. So again, we need to protect ourselves, and there's more solutions than there are problems. Individuals must be self-sustainable and independent and responsible and understand money, because if you control your money doesn't control you. You control it. Wealth insurance is important, gold and silver, and this isn't investment advice. This is simply my opinion, but we look at history and it says the same. And decentralized, properly, fundamentally useful cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, again, that's properly decentralized. So we will continuously look into this as we are on the verge of a major crisis in the economy, the likes of one we've never seen before, because it was pushed off, yield curve inverting, banks are still bankrupt. The longer we wait, the worse it's going to be, and we need to allow it to come down and watch it come down and break free and rebuild from a decentralized, free market, non-interventionist system based on individual demand. So anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right, guys. I'm really tired. I wiped myself out. I've been up all day. I'm going to look at a few of these here. I don't think we're going to be going much longer because I do have a meeting soon. But I was really feeling the backlash from my previous report there. I was getting a little exhausted feeling. But anyway, Eric Schneider says AI sucks. I agree. Stephen A says, hey Josh. And Don H says, inhale and exhale. And good job. This is something I need to do more often. I've just been working too hard lately, and it's hitting me pretty hard. Keisha Rhinestone says the dollar needs to crash and crash big time. I totally agree. Again, the sooner the better. The longer it's put off, the worse it's going to be for everyone. And we have a lot of comments here. I can't say a few of them out loud because I'll get further shadow banned. As you can see, 44 people out of 114,000 people are watching, which makes total sense. Yes, absolutely. Elizabeth Paez says, thank you. And thank you, Elizabeth, for watching. Always appreciate all of our viewers tuning in. It's important. And we haven't been doing too well lately. We have been getting restricted dramatically by YouTube, and it's been hard to keep up with. I don't know what's next on our horizon, but we're gonna keep going and work as hard as we can to continuously bring you information all day, every day, 365 days a year. And for those wondering, we do have Subscribestar, and we're going to be doing videos just for Subscribestar, not safe for YouTube as we call them, NSFY. So you can subscribe there. It's a Patreon alternative. $4.99 US a month will allow us to keep going and bring you reports and videos that we cannot do on YouTube, because then it'll just take away from the viewership of all of our other stuff and make it impossible for us to survive. It's hard times for independent media, vast shadow banning. Doing 3 or 4 videos a day rather than 1 and still only getting a third of the viewership is bad. And the more views we get, it seems the less subscribers we get a day if you look at Social Blade. So it's very strange what's happening, and we're doing our best to keep up with it. But again, we can't do it without all of you. You guys make it possible. We thank you so much all the time. I mean, it really does make a massive, massive difference. So, yeah, what did we do today? 3 reports? I want to do another one. I have another one lined up, but I'm just so out of it, guys. It's just, I got a little sick again, and I've been dealing with exhaustion just from working 17 hours a day and then working twice as hard as I was previously at 17 hours a day to try and get videos up all the time. So it's been a bit difficult, but I love what I do. It's the best job in the world. I love every second of it. I get to talk to amazing people all the time and connect with you guys, the audience, which makes me always very happy to do. Yannick Koval says, why you working 17 hours? I'm working 17 hours or else I'll go homeless, because YouTube is shadow banning all of us and making it impossible for us to get seen. And it's not even the monetization that's the problem. It's the fact that the shadow banning, it doesn't allow us to be seen. So with just demonetization, I can find forms of funding. But if I'm not getting seen by anyone, there's no benefit for people to fund me at all. So I get nothing. So it's been really brutal lately, and I've been depending on super chats here on the live streams and on cryptocurrency, on things like Bitcoin. As I said, here's our address here. That's basically all I can do right now. I'm working on stepping up to the next level, and again, having the Subscribestar page helps a lot. That's gonna make a big difference long term. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, we got 3 subscribers. One person subscribed after our show yesterday, and I'm very, very happy about that. I really appreciate that. Again, keeps us up and running. Everything today on Facebook is down. It's been really bad trying to deal with it. This was going to be my next story. I'm just too out of breath. I have asthma and stuff, so I can't go too crazy for my own health. But it's been really bad. I can't market to anybody today. I can't reach anybody on Facebook. And on top of that, YouTube blocked me from commenting on my own videos for the most part. So I can't reply to a lot of people. And I can't write pinned comments for the most part. And I just posted a video on CFS in Canada, which I hope you all go check out, which was shadow banned immediately upon publishing 0 views. And it got demonetized. And again, it's not the monetization, it's the fact that if it's demonetized, it can't be seen by people. So it's really bad. Girmi, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce her name. I'm not good with non-English names, to be entirely honest. But Cabral says, hello from Brazil. Hello from the USA, and soon to be Canada. I'm running up to Canada in a few days. Always great to see our Brazilian viewers on. Adam says, hi Josh, you should do another video with Stephen Kendall. I'm working on that. I've just been too busy. But I definitely want to do an interview with Stephen Kendall as soon as possible. I've been talking with him on Twitter on and off about that. I want to go into Digibyte a lot and get into the issue of Digibyte. So yeah, that's definitely on the horizon for me. I definitely will be working towards that as soon as possible. We got a lot more 4K, high quality, well edited reports coming at you as well right away. John is working on building this event in Winnipeg, Canada, the Winnipeg Crypto Conference right away. So he's been busy with that. Adam says you could monetize your channel with Digibyte. Absolutely. I do have Digibyte addresses. I don't know. Do I have it on YouTube here as an option? I got to check that out. I'm not sure if I left it in the description here. I got Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dash. Yeah, I do not have my Digibyte address in the bottom part here. I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of Digibyte, though. Digibyte is one of my favorite cryptocurrencies, and it's awesome. Anyway, Johnson A says investment advice. Just kidding. Yeah, not going there. That's how you get a lawsuit. Stephen A says, how do creators resist YouTube's growing censorship? There's no real good options today, as I kind of went into in an earlier report tonight. There's really no good options. We're basically hoping that our viewers support us enough to help us out every now and then with a super chat or a donation or something like that until the alternatives are built. I'm not a coder. I can only promote the good social media networks like U.community and stuff like that, which is being developed on. But I can't really do much about it myself other than just go on all the different platforms and post on all of them. Some of them aren't great though. And with like minds.com, I'm on there, but like they only allow 15-minute videos, and you know me, most of my videos are over 15 minutes, so it's really difficult to do. But Kingsley Edwards, as he mentioned, working on a platform that will help. Yes, he is, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I will be promoting that to all of you guys soon and letting you all know about that, because it's going to be big news when he comes out with it, and I'm looking forward to it, and I definitely think everyone should get behind it. And in the meantime, I'm working with Subscribestar, like I said, and Subscribestar is a really good alternative so far. It's a little confusing at times, but yeah, I'm going to be doing subscriber-only videos on there, so please go to our Subscribestar linked below and subscribe. $4.99 tier a month will make a big difference. So anyway, Adam says Digibyte Global Summit this April in Amsterdam. All right, well, I'll see what I can do. The problem is, end of April, I'm going to Frankfurt, Germany, and then to Seville, Spain. It cost almost nothing. Like, seriously, it cost a few $100s because I booked outside of Expedia and all that. But I'm doing a documentary where I'm researching something in the Sahara Desert, and I'm going there first and traveling down and making things as cheap as possible because I can't really afford it at all. But I want to bring you guys really interesting information. So anyway, now What's Up 52 says, do you use Gab? I am on Gab. I just haven't used it in like months. I can't remember what happened with that. I'll have to look. I have so many social medias. I just need a social media person at this point. But anyway, I think there's machines for that these days. Man, I just realized there's something I didn't go into in the Ocasio-Cortez video that's annoying, which is that automation isn't necessarily a bad thing. Automation is actually a good thing. Automation allows automation leads to more jobs long term. It actually allows for companies to compete better because look, who are the guys that can survive a minimum wage hike? It's the McDonald's and Walmarts of the world. While the small businesses get pushed out, despite Alexandria's virtue signaling, they cannot survive with these minimum wage hikes. And you have these companies that are obviously going to automate. But if you go back to the 90s, you actually find that technological advancement and automation has led to more jobs overall long term. And we saw that even going back to the milkmaids, leading to the milk companies, the big factories. You could see the same thing for the horse and buggy. Well, everyone was like, no, not the don't leave or don't push the horse and buggy out of the market. Yeah, but automobiles are better. You know, it's like more convenient, more better, and the pricing goes down as the demand goes up versus with the competition. Obviously, the competition isn't really doing that well these days because everything's monopolized or triopolized or duopolized and stuff like that. So that's a huge, huge problem. Anyway, So I have a few more comments. It's gonna drive me crazy that I didn't say that in because that was my main point of doing that report, was talking about automation and how it's actually good for the market. So that's gonna drive me crazy. It's stuff like that that, oh man, I might do a little edit afterwards for the finished report. But Eric Schneider says automation is a cousin of AI. Well, the automation can mean many things. I mean, the assembly line was automation from having to hire a ton of people to do jobs that ended up becoming useless because technology was better. And uh, it allows to open up new diverse ways of employment and new diverse inventions and innovations on the market. It allows for people to actually advance and creates new jobs. Like, look at it, 50% since the 1990s. 50% of the jobs that are in existence today we did not know could exist 25 years ago. What does that tell us about how great automation can be? Automation isn't a bad thing. Artificial intelligence can be a huge issue. But artificial intelligence is only a major issue when the government's involved. If we capitalize on that, because one way or another, artificial intelligence is going to grow in size and scope. If we capitalize on that as individuals on a free market rather than allow government to advance in it because we're scared, then we can actually overcome the potential tyrannical ways that the government can control us using AI, utilizing AI. Anyway, I'm gonna head out right away. Oh yeah, and infant mortality and stuff like that. The differences between the automation coming from the 90s to today, the infant mortality rate and just people's mortality rate in general is much better. Adam says you can even do a video with Jared Tate, the founder of Digibyte. He has a book coming out called Blockchain 2035. That's interesting. All right, well, yeah, I'll reach out for sure, and I'm looking forward to that. A few people have mentioned that to me lately, that I should interview him. So I'll definitely work on that. I'm traveling in the next week, so it's really hard to book any interviews in the next week, but I'll do what I can. But anyway, I'm going to sign out because there's a lot going on that I need to get done right away, and I have a meeting in a few minutes with G. Edward Griffin regarding the Red Pill Expo 2019. So again, I really appreciate everyone joining us today. We weren't so successful with the super chats, maybe next time, but it is one of the only ways that we are able to survive right now because we're not making any money off of YouTube. And I did this for 2 years without making any money, and honestly, I'm fine with that. There's nothing I have against working for free to do this stuff because I'm passionate about it. But if we are going to survive as a media overall without me having to do only like a video a week or something, because I'll have to get a different job. If that happens, then that's a huge blow for independent media. And I say the same with most independent medias that are dealing with the same thing right now. If it's not me, help someone else out in independent media. We need it more than ever because we are the only resistance truly to the mainstream media controlling our narratives and controlling us and to our own demise. So again, thank you for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.